Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we explore hot topics at the top of people's minds. Productivity coach Aimee Olson is all about living life productively and peacefully. So how does less time at work sound to you? A major global study went viral after showing that in a 5-day work week, workers spend about a day accomplishing nothing. Aimee is here for the case file I call 4-Day Work Week. Aimee, are workplaces ready for this?
In a short answer, no. But I think the workplaces that quickly adapt to this are going to realize that this is really a high leverage investment that puts them ahead of the competition. So though this study showed that the workplaces that participated in the US, in Great Britain, Ireland, Canada, they all loved this change to a 4-day work week. They showed a 15% revenue increase. They showed higher engagement, less burnout, more satisfaction. And what is so interesting is those who have tested this have shown that nobody wants to go back after. So even if workplaces aren't ready for it, they need to start prepping for it.
Yeah, because it's here. So is this just about giving everyone Fridays off, or does it really kind of depend on the industry you're in, the kind of work that's being done?
Absolutely. So it should be said that, of course, not every industry, not every workplace can implement something like this, right? Logistically, it's just not possible with certain work. But office knowledge work, they can be the first ones who test this. And it can be done in a way where it's not just about removing a day from the calendar, though that's the net benefit. There is just a reframing where you're saying, we're going to eliminate everything that's unnecessary, right? We're going to eliminate waste. And I don't want people to think waste as being workers, professionals, output, but really, what are we doing that doesn't really need to get done? And in exchange, we have this really great benefit of we're working fewer hours each week.
So is this all about AI, or are there other layers to this effort or movement toward a 4-day work week?
Yeah, so this study has actually been done over several years. So AI was very minimal as a part of this study. It really had a lot more to do with looking at inefficiencies in the workplace and professional satisfaction, right? Like we had the remote work wave, and now we can see workplaces kind of pulling back from that. So this wasn't about just AI and how can we have AI take over everyone's jobs. This really was about, can we identify what we're doing that really isn't serving us on a leadership level and on a professional level, and making that work for everyone. So though AI is going to be a game changer and continues to be a game changer every single day, this really isn't about that. It's really about what's always been there, which is people will fill the time they have throughout the week at work with something, whether that's really essential output or unnecessary output.
Right, or a lot of coffee breaks. I mean, it's so true. So when you have many clients that are corporations, businesses, what does the leadership think about this? So what are some of the tips you're giving to your clients as they might start thinking about going down this path?
Yeah. I think the first thing leaders need to do is get some clarity, and they just need to ask themselves one question, which is, if my team had one less day this week, what falls away? The real work, the real output, or the work that just exists because there's time to fill, right? So there's this thing called Parkinson's Law, which means work is going to fill the time allowed. So if we have a 5-day work week, people are going to fill that time. And I think leaders already know the answer. They already know the answer. Of course, the work is going to get done, and there's going to be less performative work. But the second thing they can do is, after kind of getting some clarity around that, is just conducting a really simple experiment. Block a part of the calendar for your team or even for yourself. Block Fridays. Don't schedule status updates. Don't schedule meetings. Don't schedule big projects to launch on Fridays or Mondays. It doesn't have to be one day or the other, but just conduct a really soft experiment yourself. Notice how you interact with that experiment. And most likely that's how your team is also going to interact. So, and then I would say the third part of that is really reframing the risk. The question isn't, will productivity drop? The study over several years has shown it won't, right? The research is really clear about that. But the real question to ask yourself and reframe that risk is, what is it going to cost if we don't evolve with this new trend, right? Our competition is going to be thinking about this. And the bottom line is employee satisfaction, increased productivity and output is really, really important to your bottom line. And more companies and teams are looking for ways to incentivize productivity. And this is just the next wave.
And wellness is so important. We've talked about that with you on the Crisis Files, as well as it's just a hot topic. Everybody's thinking about wellness. I coach my executives in something I call green space. It's that refresh time. Are you scheduling that into your calendar? Hopefully daily, if not daily, a lot of weekly, where you're just getting away from work. So the wellness piece of what you're talking about and this possible move toward a 4-day work week could really pay off exponentially, save a lot of money, but also people are just happier, and happy employees are productive employees.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of fear from professionals about, what's the point of eliminating a day? That's just going to compress my week. That's going to make it feel like I've got less time to do what I need to do. But again, the research does not support that. It's work expands to fill the time available. So we really need to remember that, like, a packed Friday, a very busy Friday, is not evidence of essential work. It's just evidence of time.
I hate packed Fridays. I mean, I intentionally try to stop any kind of real mind work by 2:00 on Friday and meetings by like maybe a noon lunch meeting, if I even can. If I can, that's how I try to make my Fridays shape.
Yes. And, there's something interesting too. If professionals did this experiment themselves, they might not be able to just go and take Fridays off. But what I really challenge people to do is put all of your essential work and all of your essential decision-making, front load that in your week, right? On your Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday. Because the reality is if you allow yourself that fifth day, you're just going to procrastinate and push it to the fifth day, right?
Yes.
And you're not in the right frame of mind, just like you're saying, from a mental health, a wellness perspective. Come Friday, you're not in a great space to be launching that project, doing that deep focus work. So I think there's an experiment that can happen there as well with professionals to just go, what if I experimented and tested with eliminating that one day?
One of the things I do with my leaders, especially when I start working with any given executive, if they're having trouble delegating things, I have them do a deep dive. I call it a forensic analysis of their calendar, and really go in and look at every meeting, everything that's scheduled, every bit of open space. And it's great to see that when the ones that take that seriously, how they're able to really see where they have either non-productive or just meetings that are too long. Can you do a 25-minute meeting instead of a 45? Can you do 50 minutes instead of a 60-minute meeting? Those little shavings could be almost a precursor to what you're recommending, which is that test of a shorter work week. So if you really go in and do that forensic analysis of the calendar, you see where you yourself are not being productive. Also, everyone has their circadian rhythms, and some people are super productive Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Others wake up in the middle of the week and they're more productive Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I always recommend have some of those tough days, schedule things for yourself at work that are happy places. Maybe it's a favorite client, a favorite coworker, a favorite direct report, so that it doesn't seem like a drudgery, but it is a meeting that you have to have. This is like bar none. All of my clients find they are able to eliminate and shorten meetings when they do this forensic analysis. So I think it could bring a lot of joy before you even start considering, could I experiment with that 4-day work week?
Yeah, and calendar bloat is so prevalent in the professional workplace. And the other side of that is sometimes you have high or output employees who are really task oriented, but they don't realize that really stretching those tasks over the course of 5 days, it's not efficient, right? You're not task
kind of sucks some of
batching.
the energy out of it.
It does. There's a lot of context switching, right, between meetings and, going back and forth for 5 days. So there is an opportunity to, like you said, to kind of do that forensic audit. I love the idea of actually using AI right now to do a little bit of an experiment. I did this myself, is I took all of my calendar information, my meetings, and then I also took my tasks from my task manager and I uploaded those to AI. And I just gave it a really simple prompt saying, where am I doing a lot of context switching, task switching, and where are there meetings where maybe some of the, I can cut back? Where am I experiencing some bloat or some overlap? And again, AI is not perfect, but it's able to kind of process that information really quickly and give you a picture that you maybe can't see yourself, right? Because when you're in it, every meeting you're in feels important. Every status update's important. Every task is important. But just kind of do that, experiment yourself with AI, or you can just do it manually too, just doing that simple audit, like you said. And where do we have some space to move and challenge ourselves to cut back? Because I think the important thing to pull from the 4-day week global study is productivity did not go down. What did go down was meetings and inefficient work.
And that's really great. So Zoom's CEO predicts a 3-day work week by 2031. What are your thoughts about that, productivity coach Aimee Olson?
I think we're a long way from there. I think there's definitely a cultural shift that needs to happen, especially here in the US. But I think it's on us to individually and leadership to start moving toward this goalpost. And I think it's important to remember this isn't a concession to a trend, right? And that was kind of a lot of the mumblings around remote work is, oh, this is just a trend. No, this is the future of work. You have people in AI and tech who are acknowledging this. And again, this is not around eliminating jobs. This is about becoming more efficient and more productive and creating more work that actually matters and getting out of this kind of older mindset of when we're busy and we're grinding, that's when we're productive.
So quality over quantity is a theme here in what you're highlighting for us and teaching us. And also being willing to just let go and try. Take a chance, take some risks, and do those informal experiments for yourself. I love that challenge to leaders because they could do that and then maybe give some feedback to their direct teams and give their direct teams some license to try those experiments.
Absolutely. And you know what? In the end, professionals, leaders, organizations who demonstrate efficiency and high output are really more valuable. They're assets, right? So again, let's not lead from fear. Let's lead from innovation and see where it takes us.
All right. So Aimee, I'm going to throw something at you we didn't prepare for. We're talking to you here in spring of 2026. What's your prediction for the rest of the year? What do you see that could be drastically different even by December of the same year? In the kind of work you're doing, whether it's workplace, even efficiencies at home, because all of us have a home life too.
Yeah, I am seeing a lot more experimentation and curiosity around AI agents. And that being from, again, in organizations, but on a personal level. I'm finding people are really starting to test the waters about what does it mean if I build an AI agent myself using any one of the AI tools that are available to start outsourcing some of that work that I don't enjoy doing, right? I've started to do that experimentation myself as well. But I think by 2027, we're going to see a lot of people using AI agents to do all sorts of tasks in their personal life and their professional life.
It's interesting that you bring that up because just yesterday, major coincidence, I was invited by the local business journal to a seminar put on by, turns out to be a friend of mine, speaker mentor, Sam Richter, and he's a digital expert, the search, and he's really growing his field of thought leadership in AI. And he was teaching the audience how to create your own agent. He called it your own intern. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm so a late adopter to anything tech, I was thinking, could I give it an Australian accent? Could it have, or a sexy Italian male voice? I'm thinking of all these ways to personalize this, even though it's going to take me a while to figure it out. But it's fun that you mention that and you see that that's really on the horizon.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, again, tying it back to the leaders and professionals, you know, you and I shared a Gallup poll that was done about the use of AI technology and how people are using those in their jobs. And it was so enlightening because you see people are experimenting with these tools on their own, but there's not a lot of intention of how do we weave this into our organization or how do we weave it into our team and truly create innovation in our productivity. So I'm hoping, along with the use of the AI agent, that by 2027, there's a lot more intentionality in using these tools. Whereas right now, everyone's just kind of dipping their toe in, trying to get comfortable like yourself. But I think these tools are going to be really addictive and really easy to use.
Well, you heard it here, Crisis Filers. Connect directly with Aimee Olson at lifedonesimply.com. Today's case file is powered by Mall of America. Mall of America. Great shopping. A dazzling and dizzying variety of attractions and restaurants. Did you realize Mall of America also hosts hundreds of events each year? Everything from high-fashion runway shows to visits from the hottest musicians. Pop-up celebrations ahead of movie premieres. Charity-related walks and holiday-themed experiences. You never know what you will find at our mall. For upcoming events and happenings, check out mallofamerica.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.